Every morning, Lily leads her horses into the hush before sunrise. Certain her secret will never surface, today they see something that threatens everything she fought to protect. It was still dark when 14-year-old Lily slipped out of the old farmhouse, her boots crunching across the gravel yard. Her breath formed pale clouds in the chilly pre-dawn air. Though the sun had yet to rise, the ranch was alive with subtle sounds. Rustling leaves, an owl's fading call, and the occasional snort from the horses in the paddock. Lily clutched a small lantern in one hand, its glow illuminating her path toward the barn. This morning routine was her favorite time of day, a precious slice of quiet before anyone else stirred. She always felt an unspoken camaraderie with the horses, as if they understood that these moments belonged to them alone. Inside the barn, the scent of fresh hay and oiled leather greeted her. She set down the lantern and flicked on a single overhead bulb that bathed the stalls in a dim, gentle light. One by one, she walked past the rows of stalls, murmuring soft greetings. "Morning, Willow," she said, stopping to stroke the muzzle of a sleek bay mare with deep brown eyes. Willow nickered in response, ears pricking forward. Lily moved on to a dappled grey gelding named Scout, then a spirited roan filly called Ember. Each horse recognized her voice and presence, leaning into her gentle touch. It never occurred to Lily that anyone might question why she was so devoted to these animals at such an early hour. Long before her father's alarm clock sounded or her mother began bustling in the kitchen, Lily was out here. She found solace in the steady rhythms of brushing coats, mucking out stalls, and measuring portions of grain. Her parents supported her, albeit with bemused smiles, convinced their daughter simply loved horses more than anything in the world. Yet there was something deeper at play. A quiet current of understanding that ran between Lily and her four-legged companions. No one else seemed to notice how Lily tilted her head just so, as if listening to words no human could hear. No one else saw the spark in the horses' eyes when Lily drew near, as if they were greeting a friend who spoke their language. On this particular morning, Lily had a plan. She hauled open the barn's heavy doors and stepped aside, letting the horses out into the field in small groups. They ambled forward, still groggy in the half-light. Willow led the way, flicking her tail as she moved gracefully onto the dew-laden grass. Scout followed at a slower pace, occasionally nuzzling Lily's shoulder. Ember, ever the spirited one, trotted ahead and threw her head up as if challenging the dim sky to race the sun. From the corner stall, an older mare named Petunia lingered, reluctant to leave the warmth of her bed of straw. Lily chuckled and coaxed the mare gently, guiding her out with a series of soft clucks and reassuring pats. Each morning, Lily took them out for a simple stretch. A slow walk around the field, maybe a light trot if they seemed eager. But in truth, Lily believed these dawn outings were about more than just exercise. She felt it deep in her chest. The horses needed to greet the day as partners, not as animals waiting to be saddled and put to work. Sometimes, Lily caught subtle exchanges among them. A flick of an ear, a soft whinny, a stomp of a hoof. And she sensed emotions so clear that she nearly heard them as words. It was as if the horses told her stories about the night that had passed, who had dreamed fitfully, who had felt lonely, who had glimpsed a fox slinking by in the dark. Lily's heart ached with an intense, almost magical empathy that she never dared speak of to anyone else. Who would believe her? It was only when she turned 5 that she first realized she had an unusual talent. She was playing near the orchard behind the barn when she found a foal trembling alone by the fence. Something about the foal's wide, fearful eyes spoke to Lily without words. She whispered a soft greeting, and the little horse seemed to respond, not just by quieting down, but by conveying images of storms and lightning that Lily somehow understood. She mentioned it to her mother later, describing the foal's fright in vivid detail. Her mother merely patted her head and said Lily had a big imagination. After that, Lily kept her thoughts to herself, deciding that this peculiar connection was her secret, one shared only with the horses she loved. Over the years, she strengthened that bond each time she cared for an injured horse or comforted one that was skittish after a rough ride. Even her father, who was often too busy with the ranch's finances and equipment repairs, took notice of how calm the horses became around Lily. He assumed it was simple gentleness and praised her for her knack with animals. But Lily felt certain that something else was at work, something she couldn't quite put into words. This morning, as she led the horses out, Lily sensed a subtle difference in the air. Maybe it was the hush of the wind or the half-formed shapes of fog drifting over the pasture, but she felt a faint tremor of excitement flicker through her chest. The horses seemed more alert, too. Their ears swiveled, and they kept looking toward the eastern fence line, where the sky was just beginning to blush with the first hints of dawn. Willow tossed her head, nickering at Scout. Ember danced in place, as if restless energy filled her hooves. Lily's heart pounded faster for reasons she couldn't explain. Something was coming, some new turn in the unspoken connection she shared with them. She guided them through a gentle warm-up, leading them in a wide circle near the wooden fence that separated the pasture from a fallow wheat field. Petunia, though older, moved more easily than usual, and Lily found it curious. The mare's eyes shone with a spark Lily had not seen in years. Soon, the horizon brightened, painting the clouds in streaks of pink and orange. The horses whinnied softly, as if greeting the sun. Lily closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and tried to tune in to that soft, wordless frequency she only ever tapped into with them. A swirl of sensation hit her, excitement, anticipation, a glimmer of camaraderie, and behind it all, a whispered question that made Lily's breath catch in her throat. "Are you ready?" "Ready for what?" Lily whispered under her breath, though no one but the horses could have heard. Willow shifted closer, pressing her muzzle against Lily's arm. Scout paused mid-step, ears pinned forward, gazing at Lily intently. Ember stomped, letting out a sharp exhale that sounded like determination. It was as if they were giving her their strength, urging her to step beyond the mundane, to follow that quivering sense of possibility she felt in the marrow of her bones. The morning sun rose higher, and Lily realized she was late for breakfast. Her mother would be calling her any minute to help with chores in the garden. Reluctantly, Lily patted each horse in turn. "I'll be back soon," she promised, her voice low yet full of affection. The horses nickered in response, almost as if to say, "We'll be waiting." Lily led them to the far corner of the pasture, where a patch of fresh grass offered a perfect place to graze. Before leaving, she lingered with Petunia, scratching behind the mare's ears. Petunia's tired eyes seemed to glow with gratitude, and Lily felt another wave of that unspoken message. "I'm stronger than I look, child." Lily smiled, warmth flooding her chest as she quietly said goodbye. Back at the farmhouse, Lily's mother was standing on the porch, hands on her hips. "Honestly, Lily, you'll catch a cold out there so early," she called, though her voice carried a fond exasperation. Lily jogged the last few steps, trying not to track mud onto the worn wooden boards of the porch. "I'm fine, Mom," she replied, cheeks flushed from the morning chill. "I just lost track of time." Her mother shook her head and handed Lily a plate of scrambled eggs and toast. "Eat quickly, then come help me in the kitchen. We have to get ready for the feed delivery tomorrow." Grateful for the meal, Lily settled at the small dining table. Outside the window, she could see the distant silhouette of the horses in the pasture, heads bobbing as they grazed in the morning light. A pang of longing tugged at her. She wanted to be with them, to learn more about the electricity she felt humming in the air around them. But the day's chores called, and she knew her responsibilities came first. Still, that question refused to leave her mind. Ready for what? By mid-morning, Lily was elbow-deep in flour, helping her mother make bread. While her mother chatted cheerfully about the upcoming deliveries and the neighbors who might stop by for fresh eggs, Lily's thoughts kept drifting. She recalled the way Willow looked at her that morning, how Ember's hooves had danced as though the filly could sense a secret just beyond the horizon. Lily wanted to tell her mother about it, about the odd signals she sometimes received when she stood near the horses. But each time the words rose in her throat, she pictured her mother's gentle smile that concealed disbelief. She could almost hear it. "Oh, Lily, you and your imagination." Eventually, Lily excused herself to check the vegetable garden. Though the tomatoes and cucumbers needed no real attention, she simply needed space to think without prying eyes. The garden sat on a small slope behind the house, offering a clear view of the pastures and the barn. A light breeze teased a strand of Lily's hair loose from her ponytail as she scanned the fields. Her gaze caught on a peculiar movement. It looked like Willow and Ember were trotting in unison, stopping, then turning to look toward the barn. Scout kept flicking his tail, glancing between them and the fence. Petunia stood a bit off to the side, alert but unhurried. Lily squinted, trying to decipher what might be going on. Her heart thumped faster, a subtle tension building in her chest. Again, a faint hum of that indescribable communication brushed her senses. It whispered a promise she couldn't quite pass, like an invitation into a secret world she already half inhabited. Compelled by curiosity, Lily abandoned the garden and hurried back toward the pasture. The instant she approached the fence, the horses crowded around, whinnying in soft, urgent tones. Lily could feel their excitement, taste it in the air. She reached out a hand to Willow, who sniffed her fingers and nudged her wrist. Something in Willow's gaze made Lily's breath catch, a sense of urgency and expectation. A jolt of energy raced up Lily's arm, and her vision blurred for a second. She staggered, half dizzy, hearing a cacophony of sensations that didn't come from her own body. Instead, it felt like an echo of hooves on packed earth, the rush of wind, and the bright sting of morning dew on a galloping horse's legs. Then, just as quickly, the feeling vanished. Ember let out a high-pitched whinny and danced backward, as if celebrating something only she could see. Petunia ambled closer with a knowing, maternal expression in her dark eyes. Lily's own heart pounded wildly. She took a moment to catch her breath, confusion and excitement swirling inside her. What had just happened? She'd always felt a bond with her horses, but never this sudden surge of images and sensations, as though she was stepping into their very hooves. Taking a slow, calming breath, Lily pressed a trembling hand to Willow's neck. "I don't know what you're trying to show me," she whispered, "but I want to understand." Her words floated into the morning air, and though the horses couldn't speak back, they seemed to share a common anticipation. Suddenly, Lily remembered that faint question she'd felt earlier. "Are you ready? Ready for what?" She repeated the thought, her pulse thrumming in her ears. The horses made no sound this time, but their body language spoke volumes. Lily sensed they wanted her to do something, take a step she'd always been too afraid to take. For a moment, she wondered if it had to do with riding. She'd ridden horses before, but not often bareback, not in that wild and free way she'd seen in old stories. Yet she sensed that if she dared to mount Willow or Ember right now, something extraordinary might happen. The morning sun was already high in the sky, and Lily could practically hear her mother calling her back to the house. But how could she walk away from this moment, from the near tangible feeling that she stood at the threshold of a discovery? She glanced over her shoulder, hesitating. A wave of guilt washed over her. She knew she had tasks waiting. But as she turned back to the horses, the look in their eyes pulled at her soul. She made a silent decision. She would find out what this secret was. If the horses were beckoning her beyond her own doubts, she would answer. She softly exhaled, reached up, and gripped Willow's mane. The mare's ears twitched, but she didn't move away. Lily's heart hammered so loudly she was sure the horses could hear it. In one smooth motion, Lily hoisted herself up onto Willow's broad back. No saddle, no bridle, just the tension of her fingers curled into the mare's mane. For a second, Willow remained still, as though waiting for Lily to gather her courage. Then, with a gentle shift of weight, Willow began walking. Lily felt an immediate rush of awe at how natural it seemed. Willow's shoulders rolled beneath her, each step measured and sure. Ember trotted alongside, her ears flicking, while Scout and Petunia lingered behind. All at once, Lily felt she was perched on the edge of a revelation. That subtle current of empathy began to hum again, and Lily braced herself. Was she about to witness the world from the horse's perspective? Would she finally understand the secret they had been patiently holding out to her? Just then, a faint call echoed from the farmhouse. Lily bit her lip. Duty tugged at her from one side, but wonder pulled from the other. And in that suspended moment, perched atop Willow's back, Lily realized she had a choice to make. Either climb down and return to her everyday life, or keep riding toward the incredible unknown that beckoned in the horse's eyes. Lily listened to the fading echo of her mother's voice, half caught between guilt and exhilaration. With her arms draped lightly around Willow's neck, she decided to follow the promise shimmering in the horse's dark eyes. If Willow was offering a glimpse of something larger than chores and bread-making, Lily wanted to see it. Her heart thumped with every gentle stride across the grass. Ember pranced beside them, whinnying encouragement, while Scout and Petunia watched from a respectful distance, as though giving Lily space to make this choice on her own. As they approached the far side of the pasture, Lily felt a flutter of uncertainty. The fence line marked the boundary between her family's land and the untamed woods beyond. Though she'd sometimes gone for short rides under her father's supervision, she had never ventured out alone. Yet the horses seemed to guide her toward that very line of trees, heads lifting with purposeful attention. The morning air shimmered in the early sunlight, and Lily could almost taste the anticipation swirling around them. She shifted her weight, pressing her calves gently against Willow's sides. The mare snorted softly, understanding the signal. Together, they followed the narrow trail that cut through a small cluster of birches. Sunbeams danced across Willow's chestnut coat, painting golden stripes that flickered each time the mare moved. Lily kept one hand on Willow's mane, the other hovering near the mare's shoulder for balance. She hardly needed reins. Willow responded to the subtle lean of Lily's body, stepping carefully over branches and soft rises in the earth. Ember trotted along behind, occasionally letting out an excited squeal as if urging them forward. The deeper they went, the more Lily sensed a gathering stillness. Birdsong quieted, and even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Despite the hush, Lily didn't feel afraid. She felt guided, safe in the company of friends who understood her unspoken wishes. The trail widened into a gentle clearing ringed by ferns and wildflowers, their petals still glistening with dew. Here, Willow came to a natural stop, ears tilted forward in keen alertness. For a long moment, Lily sat astride Willow in silence, simply absorbing the hush. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting dappled patterns that swayed across the grass. Ember moved to stand beside Willow, her flank warm against Lily's leg. Lily closed her eyes and reached out with that inward sense she only ever felt around the horses. The hush became a hum, and then a flurry of half-formed images danced through her mind. The flick of a tail, the rush of a gallop, the comforting presence of a herd in the pre-dawn mist. Her eyes flew open when she sensed a sudden shift behind her. Turning, she saw Scout and Petunia standing at the edge of the clearing. They must have followed, silently, as if drawn by the same irresistible call. Lily found it remarkable that all the horses had gathered, forming a quiet circle around her. Each gazed at her with an intensity that made her pulse quicken. They were waiting for Lily to acknowledge something deeper, perhaps to trust that this connection went far beyond mere affection. At that thought, Willow stirred beneath her, tossing her head as though impatient for Lily to take the next step. Lily slid carefully from the mare's back, her boots landing softly on the mossy ground. Her heart hammered, but not from fear. This felt like an invitation, an ancient ritual whispered through the ages in the language of hooves and hidden paths. She placed a hand against Willow's shoulder. "I'm here," Lily murmured. "Tell me what I need to do." As if in response, Willow and Ember moved aside, revealing a glimmer of water behind a thick cluster of ferns. Lily parted the fronds and discovered a small pool fed by a slender stream. The water was so clear it reflected every leaf and sunbeam overhead. Drawn forward, Lily knelt at the edge. Her reflection stared back, a girl with wind-blown hair, cheeks flushed from wonder, eyes bright with curiosity. Behind her, the horses gathered, their reflections merging with Lily's in the water's surface. The image stirred a strange warmth in her chest, a reminder that they were linked in ways beyond ordinary understanding. She dipped her fingers into the cool water. Instantly, a sharp, tingling sensation ran up her arm, as if she'd touched a hidden current. Her mind filled with a vivid rush of feelings, perseverance, loyalty, love, and faint echoes of sadness. It was as if the pool held traces of what the horses carried deep inside. The swirl of emotion was nearly overwhelming. Lily inhaled sharply, forcing herself to remain calm. She sensed that if she panicked, she would lose whatever fragile connection she'd gained. "Are you okay?" The voice in her head was delicate and melodic, neither masculine nor feminine. Shocked, Lily jerked her hand away from the water. She spun around, but no one else was in the clearing. Willow, Ember, Scout, and Petunia stood watching her with the same gentle focus. A wild thought unfurled in Lily's mind. Had one of the horses spoken, or was she simply imagining things? The hush enveloped them again, but Lily's pulse raced. She wanted to speak, to call out, but she wasn't sure how. Then a sudden memory arose. As a small child, she had once dreamed that she could talk to animals. In that dream, words weren't spoken aloud. They were felt, as tangible as breath in cool air. Gathering her courage, Lily pressed her palm against Willow's flank. In her mind, she formed the words, "Yes, I'm all right." She felt foolish, as if sending thoughts into emptiness. But the emptiness replied. "Good," came the silent voice, like a soft tremor inside Lily's chest. With it came a flicker of relief, followed by an image of a sunrise over open fields. Lily's mouth went dry. She glanced from Willow to Ember. Their gazes brimmed with understanding. She tried to speak again, this time focusing on Ember's bright eyes. "Is this you?" The mare pawed the ground and tossed her mane, releasing a delighted snort that reverberated inside Lily's head like a laugh. Tears pricked Lily's eyes, not from sadness, but from the sheer wonder of it. She struggled to compose her racing thoughts. If she truly could hear them, what did it mean? Why now? The last question echoed too loudly, and she sensed a ripple of concern among the horses. "Be calm," the voice, now distinctly Willow's, conveyed. The mare stepped closer, pressing her nose to Lily's shoulder. A sense of reassurance spread through Lily, like the calm that follows a gentle rain. Her eyes darted among the horses. Scout, The methodical gelding, Petunia, the gentle elder, Ember, young and spirited, and Willow, wise and nurturing. Each had a presence as unique as any person Lily had ever known, and now she could feel that individuality radiating from them like sunlight. Together, they told her a story without words. Lily saw flickers of memory, Willow comforting an injured filly, Scout dutifully standing guard, Petunia quietly mourning a lost foal, Ember frolicking with unbounded joy. Over and over, she saw how each horse had contributed to the herd. Then she felt them share a question, one that vibrated through her entire being. Will you stand with us too? The question had no context in human language, but Lily understood its essence. They were asking if she would embrace this bond wholeheartedly, become one of them in spirit. Her throat tightened. She wanted to say yes, but she also felt the weight of what that would mean. She was just a girl with chores and homework, living in a small farmhouse with parents who had no inkling of such wonders. Could she balance the normal life she knew with this profound, hidden world? Ember's voice whispered encouragement in Lily's mind. You always have, you just didn't know it. A flutter of laughter escaped Lily's lips, startling a robin perched on a nearby branch. What Ember said rang true. Lily had loved these horses her whole life, forging a bond that outsiders might find impossible to believe. All that changed now was her awareness, the ability to hear their voices and share in their feelings. She swallowed hard, tears threatening to spill. I want to stand with you, Lily whispered in reply, her voice trembling with resolution. In an instant, a subtle wave of warmth rippled around the clearing. The horses shifted closer, forming a semicircle as if to embrace Lily in their midst. A wordless chorus of acceptance thrummed through her, loyalty, gratitude, and kinship blending into a feeling so powerful it made Lily shiver. She sensed that she had crossed an invisible threshold, stepping into a realm where humans and horses were equals in spirit, bound by respect and love. For a time, Lily knelt there, her hands resting on Willow's and Ember's shoulders, tears sliding down her cheeks. No one spoke, yet the clearing buzzed with a silent language that needed no translation. Eventually, Lily wiped her cheeks and rose unsteadily to her feet. She stared at the pool's glassy surface, half expecting to see a changed reflection. But she looked the same, just a farm girl with scruffy boots. Inside, however, she felt entirely new. It was only after Lily had spent several minutes absorbing the awe of her new understanding that she realized how long she'd been away. The sun had climbed higher, painting the forest clearing in bright beams that cast Willow's and Ember's shadows onto a patch of blooming wildflowers. A sudden knot of worry gripped Lily's stomach. She could almost hear her mother's exasperated voice if she returned too late. Lily, where have you been? She exhaled and silently thanked her equine companions for trusting her, then gently patted Willow's shoulder. She decided it was time to head back home. Yet she already knew life would never feel the same. Before leaving, she knelt one last time at the pool's edge. The water sparkled with an uncanny clarity, reflecting the horses' watchful stares. Lily felt a renewed pulse of connection, as if the clearing itself offered its silent blessing. With eyes closed, she whispered her gratitude not just to the horses, but to the forest and the sky. Opening her eyes again, she found the horses still calmly regarding her, as if waiting for her next move. Thank you, she breathed, forming the words in her mind as well, so they could sense her sincerity. I'll be back soon. The walk back through the trees felt strangely different, as if every leaf and twig had gained new vibrancy. Willow and Ember escorted her until the clearing narrowed into the familiar trail, while Scout and Petunia lingered behind, browsing on ferns. Once Lily reached the fence line, she paused, pressing her forehead briefly against Willow's. The mare's large eyes glistened with affection. In that moment, Lily realized the voice she'd heard in the clearing wasn't just a fluke. She could feel Willow's quiet concern for her, as well as the certainty that Lily would keep her word and return. Reluctantly, Lily left the pasture and broke into a brisk jog, eager to avoid further worry at home. As she neared the farmhouse, she spotted her mother in the garden, bent over a patch of tomatoes. Her father's truck was parked nearby, indicating he'd already driven into town and come back. Lily's heart sank a bit. She really had been gone longer than usual. She took a moment to compose herself before crossing the yard. Her mother turned, pushing her straw hat back and studying Lily with a mix of curiosity and mild annoyance. "Where have you been, child? I called you twice." Breathless from running, Lily tried to mask her excitement. "I was just exercising the horses," she said, which was technically true. "Lost track of time." Her mother frowned, but her tone softened when she noticed Lily's flushed cheeks. "Well, next time let me know if you're planning a long ride. I don't want to worry." She gestured at the rows of plants. "Help me gather the ripe tomatoes, then wash them in the kitchen. We have customers coming by for produce this afternoon." Lily nodded quickly, swallowing the urge to share her extraordinary morning. Some secrets, she decided, needed time. By early afternoon, Lily had washed and sorted crates of vegetables, greeted 2 regular buyers, and helped her mother package homemade jams. Each task felt like an echo of her old routine, yet her mind hummed with the memory of the horses' voices. She wondered if she could call out to them without standing right beside them. The idea made her cheeks burn with a mix of fear and delight. What if she tried to speak mentally with them from the safety of her own room? A thrill shot through her at the possibility, but the moment never seemed right. That evening, as the last rays of sunlight streaked the horizon, Lily finished brushing Scout in his stall. A calm quiet filled the barn, broken only by the rustle of horses shifting in their bedding. Her father stood by the door, discussing the next day's chores. "We'll need to mend the fence along the south pasture," he said, scratching his chin. "Some boards look ready to snap. Maybe you can help me first thing in the morning." Lily nodded, not trusting herself to speak. Whenever she tried to focus on ordinary matters, her mind kept drifting back to that hidden pool. Later, in the dim coziness of her bedroom, Lily lay awake, staring at the shadows on her ceiling. She could hear faint hoofbeats in her imagination, a comforting rhythm that lulled her closer to sleep. And then, like a gentle breeze stirring through her mind, came a voice. It wasn't distinct words, but a feeling of warm welcome. Ember's presence, vibrant and youthful, reassuring Lily that the bond they'd forged earlier still held. Lily's chest tightened with gratitude, and she tried to answer. She formed a single thought: "I miss you." In response, she felt a quiet ripple of understanding. She drifted asleep, imagining she galloped bareback on Ember's swift frame through moonlit fields. In her dream, the sky opened up with auroras of lavender and gold, and the horses spoke freely in clear, sweet voices. When she woke at dawn, the memory lingered so vividly that she half expected to see glowing ribbons across the horizon. Instead, a gentle drizzle pattered on the roof. Lily stretched, feeling an unshakable sense of purpose. She dressed quickly in her usual jeans and flannel shirt, pausing only to rub the sleep from her eyes. The morning chores awaited, but so did the secret. She hurried downstairs to find her father sipping coffee at the kitchen table. Rain drummed against the window. He gave her a meaningful nod, reminding her of the fence repair they planned. "We'll wait until the weather clears," he said, yawning. "No sense in getting soaked." Lily glanced outside, where wet clouds shrouded the fields. Her heart skipped Maybe once the rain let up, she could slip away to the clearing again. "Sure, Dad," she answered, trying to sound casual. She busied herself with oatmeal and a slice of toast, biting her lip whenever the thought of the horses crept in. Hours passed with the steady patter of rain, forcing Lily to help her parents indoors. She sorted receipts in her father's cluttered office and helped her mother organize an overstuffed pantry. By noon, the clouds lightened and a pale sun emerged. Lily's father stretched and declared it was time to tackle the fence. Together, they trudged out to the south pasture, hammers and spare boards in hand. Despite her impatience, Lily poured her energy into the repair. She yanked out nails from rotten planks and handed her father fresh boards, all the while keeping an eye on the distant tree line. Finally, late in the afternoon, her father surveyed the now sturdy fence and nodded his approval. Lily wiped sweat from her brow and asked, trying to mask her eagerness, "Anything else you need?" He chuckled. "Go on, get." "Take a break." Lily bolted for the barn, heart pounding. She found Ember and Willow waiting near the paddock gate, as though they sensed her approach. Scout and Petunia stood a few yards away, swishing flies. Lily paused only to grab a halter for Ember, but as she approached, a gentle wave of reassurance coursed through her mind. "No need for that. Trust us." A tremor of excitement fluttered in Lily's stomach. She discarded the halter, opening the paddock gate to let Willow and Ember step out freely. Without hesitation, Lily climbed onto Willow's back in one motion, the mare standing beneath her. Ember trotted alongside, while Scout and Petunia followed at a distance. With a nudge, Lily guided Willow toward the tree line, her heart thrumming. She felt the horse's presence whisper, "We've been waiting." They moved into the woods, Lily marveling at how Willow navigated the winding path, as if led by invisible signs. The woods seemed more alive than ever as Lily and the horses followed the narrow path back to the clearing. Leaves rustled overhead, branches swayed in a soft breeze, and beams of late afternoon sunlight slanted through the canopy, painting the ground in shifting flecks of gold. Lily's heart pounded with excitement. Her memories of the hidden pool burned brightly in her mind, as did the unspoken chorus of voices she'd heard. Willow led the way with unhurried confidence, Ember trotting beside them as if she could hardly contain her anticipation. Occasionally, the young mare would toss her head or flick her tail, sending playful energy through the air that Lily sensed as a happy hum. They skirted an old fallen log where moss spread like a velvet blanket. Willow navigated the terrain with care, each step soft against the damp leaves. Lily noticed that the other two horses, Scout and Petunia, kept a few paces behind, as though providing a respectful escort. The sense of harmony calmed Lily's nerves. She still couldn't fully grasp how she understood them, how their emotions and messages bloomed in her mind, but she didn't doubt it anymore. It felt as natural as breathing. When they reached the clearing, the late sun bathed the grass in a mellow glow. The pool shimmered like polished glass, reflecting ferns and wildflowers. Lily dismounted and placed a steadying hand on Willow's flank. A gentle pulse seemed to flow between them, the mare's calm assurance wrapping around Lily like a shawl. Ember nickered from behind, urging Lily forward. Lily turned and saw Petunia pick her way through the ferns, followed by Scout. All four horses wore a look of expectant contentment. Lily moved to the pool's edge. A few stray leaves floated on its surface, gilded by the angled sunlight. She knelt, resting her palms against the soft earth. The water smelled faintly of wet stone and fresh rain, though it was startlingly clear. Bracing for the jolt of connection she'd felt before, Lily dipped her fingertips in. At once, a faint tingling coursed up her arm, but it was gentler this time, like a familiar friend's greeting. In her mind, she felt the horses' combined presence, curiosity, warmth, and quiet strength. She closed her eyes, breathing in the forest's hush. A gentle swirl of impressions formed, more coherent than before. It wasn't a single voice, but a chorus of equine awareness, images and emotions. She caught fleeting glimpses of the ranch, the path they'd traveled, the sense of safety they felt in her company. In return, Lily tried to show them her gratitude, forming the mental equivalent of a smile. A ripple of approval resonated through her, and Lily smiled for real, the sensation both exhilarating and soothing. After a while, Lily withdrew her hand from the pool and stood up, water droplets trickling from her fingertips. In the silence, Willow stepped close and touched her nose to Lily's shoulder. Lily stroked the mare's neck. "I wish I knew why I can do this," she murmured, thinking the words as much as she spoke them. Willow's eyes brimmed with a patient sort of knowing. Petunia ambled up behind them, nibbling at the grass near Lily's feet. The older mare's gaze held the gentle wisdom of many seasons, as though telling Lily that some mysteries take time to unfold. A breeze drifted through the clearing, rustling the ferns and sending a few yellowed leaves spiraling down from the highest branches. Lily watched Scout take a long drink from the pool. He lifted his head, water dripping from his muzzle, then fixed Lily with that steady, watchful look she'd come to adore. Lily sensed his calm acceptance, like a guardian who never questioned her motives. She felt a pang of gratitude that nearly brought tears to her eyes. These horses, once just beloved companions, were now something like family, or perhaps something more powerful still. Ember, ever the restless spirit, broke the reverent quiet. She pawed the ground, letting out a high-pitched whinny that Lily interpreted as excitement. A faint pressure built behind Lily's temples, and she caught the flicker of an image. A wide meadow beneath a setting sun, hooves pounding soft earth, freedom in every breath. Lily inhaled sharply, realizing Ember was inviting her to run, to embrace the simple joy of movement. A grin tugged at Lily's lips. She glanced around at the others, seeking silent permission. In response, Willow dipped her head, and Petunia calmly stepped aside, as if relinquishing the stage. Scout flicked an ear in quiet assent. Taking a steadying breath, Lily approached Ember, who waited impatiently, shifting her weight from hoof to hoof. Lily swung onto Ember's bare back, feeling the taut energy beneath the mare's warm coat. For a heartbeat, they remained still, Lily's heart thundering. Then Ember sprang forward, bursting from the clearing in a swift trot that quickly escalated into a gallop. Branches blurred, and leaves whipped past as they wove through the trees on a path Lily wasn't even sure existed. Yet Ember navigated with flawless confidence, as though the forest itself cleared a path for them. The wind stung Lily's cheeks, and her hair blew back in wild tangles. She leaned into Ember's neck, trusting the horse's instincts. Her pulse soared. She felt more alive than she ever had, more than when she'd won a ribbon at a small local show, more than any fleeting moment of triumph in her young life. This was raw, unbridled communion with a living creature who matched Lily's heartbeats with her own. At last, they broke out of the woods and into a broad meadow ringed by pines. The sun hovered low now, painting the tall grasses in amber. Ember slowed to a canter, then to a gentle trot. Lily brushed tears from her eyes, not from sadness but from the sheer beauty of the moment. She felt Ember's exhilaration like a brilliant spark, the mare's joy radiating outward. Never had Lily known such closeness. It wasn't about control or training, but about sharing a sense of boundless possibility. When they came to a stop, Lily slid off Ember's back, legs trembling from the rush. She ran her hands along Ember's neck, the mare still breathing heavily from their ride. "Thank you," Lily managed, her voice barely above a whisper. Ember touched Lily's cheek with her muzzle in the softest of gestures. An unspoken warmth passed between them, confirming that no words were necessary. They lingered there for a while. Lily let Ember graze on the lush meadow grass, her own thoughts drifting like clouds. She wondered if she should be afraid of how extraordinary this all seemed, but fear never took root. Instead, she felt an overwhelming sense of belonging. A hush settled over the meadow, and Lily realized the day was waning. She needed to return before her parents worried, but part of her yearned to stay, half wishing she could sleep under the stars beside Ember. At length, Lily swung herself back up onto Ember's back, stroking the mare's mane. She considered asking, in a half-formed thought, if Ember remembered the way to the clearing. The mare seemed to understand, taking an easy trot back into the shadows of the trees. The forest's hush enveloped them again, though it now felt reassuring, like an old friend's embrace. By the time they returned to the clearing, the other horses were gone, likely heading home in their own time. Slivers of twilight crept over the treetops. Lily dismounted, letting Ember wander a moment, snuffling at the ferns. With a mix of reluctance and gratitude, Lily knelt by the pool once more, brushing her fingers over the water's surface. She formed a silent goodbye in her mind, at least for now. The water reflected her face, newly flushed with life, her eyes bright with a confidence she hadn't noticed until that moment. It was as if she'd stepped through some hidden doorway, and now the world looked more vivid, more alive than ever. Darkness began to settle, so Lily led Ember along the familiar path, carefully navigating roots and uneven ground. As they emerged from the trees, Lily saw the lights from the ranch glowing against the dusky sky. She paused at the fence line, slipping through it with Ember at her side. Once inside the paddock, Ember gave a satisfied snort. Lily grinned, placing a final pat on the mare's shoulder. "We'll do this again," she thought, hoping Ember heard. In response, she felt a gentle flicker of a scent, like a faint echo of hooves tapping against her mind. She could hear her mother's voice calling from near the barn. With a small sigh, Lily headed in that direction, Ember trailing behind until Lily latched the gate. Her mother was waiting by the barn door, arms crossed, face partially hidden in shadow. "You're back later than usual," she said, her tone uncertain, as if unsure whether to be worried or simply curious. Lily shrugged, mustering a sheepish half-smile. "Ember and I went a little farther. I'm sorry." Her mother's stern facade wavered. Perhaps she'd seen the unmistakable glow in Lily's eyes. "Well," she relented, "next time, let us know if you'll be out until dark. Your father nearly went looking for you." She paused, then added more gently, "Are you all right, honey?" Lily nodded, swallowing back the rush of words that threatened to spill out. How she'd galloped through the forest without saddle or reins, how she could sense Ember's thoughts dancing in her own mind. She didn't think her mother was ready for such a revelation, so she simply said, "I'm fine, Mom, just really happy." Her mother pulled her into a hug, and for a moment, Lily relaxed into the comforting warmth. When they separated, Lily walked Ember into the barn, guiding the mare into her stall. The gentle shuffle of hooves told Lily the other horses were also settling in. Their presence felt like a steady heartbeat in the background, reassuring and strong. Later that night, Lily lay in bed, staring at the moonlit rectangle of her window. The day's memories shimmered behind her eyelids. She thought of the clearing, the sparkling pool, the gallop through the meadow, and the shared bond she felt with every horse. The magnitude of it all pulsed through her with each breath. She sensed that the horses were still awake in their stalls, that they could, if she tried, speak to her even now. But she was too spent to initiate the silent conversation, her body drained by the day's excitement. Instead, she let the comfort of their friendship envelop her, guiding her into a deep, dreamless sleep. When Lily opened her eyes the next morning, grey light seeped through the curtains. For a fleeting moment, she wondered if the connection to the horses had been part of an unusually vivid dream. But as she rubbed the last traces of sleep from her eyes, she sensed a subtle warmth, almost like an invisible cord tugging gently at her heart. The realization that she could hear and feel the horses, even at rest, filled her with a rush of excitement. She stretched and rose from bed, half expecting to see Willow or Ember peering through the window. Downstairs, she found her mother already bustling around the kitchen, flipping pancakes on the stove. The air smelled of fresh batter and hot butter, with a faint undertone of coffee. Lily's father sat at the table, leafing through a worn ledger. He glanced up when Lily entered, nodded a greeting and went back to his calculations. "Good morning," Lily said softly, sliding into a chair. She absently toyed with a napkin, her mind drifting toward the barn. She wondered if the horses were awake, if she could reach out to them the way she had the night before. Her mother set a plate of pancakes in front of her. "Eat up. You'll need your strength." She turned toward the sink, adding over her shoulder, "We've got a busy day. The Coopers are coming by to pick up a few bales of hay, and your dad needs you to help clean out the back storage room." Lily murmured an agreement while she spread jam on her pancakes. Usually, her appetite was ravenous in the morning, but now she chewed absently. Her mind kept flitting to the clearing, to the memory of Ember's gallop. Across from her, her father sipped coffee, oblivious to her distraction. He tapped a pencil against the ledger, muttering something about receipts. Lily watched him, part of her relieved that neither parent probed her about her whereabouts last evening. As soon as she finished breakfast, she excused herself and slipped outside. Dew glittered on the grass beneath a sky that shifted from pale gray to a brightening blue. Lily inhaled the damp morning air, savoring the crisp tang. The barn stood quiet at this hour, but Lily knew at least one or two horses would be peering over stall doors. Sure enough, she found Ember wide awake, ears forward, nickering softly. Lily's heart fluttered with affection. "Good morning," she whispered aloud, then formed the thought in her mind, "I'm here." A friendly warmth rolled back at her, like a gentle breeze stirring the air. It was Ember's unique energy, bright and playful. Lily sensed a flicker of invitation, as if the mare hoped Lily might slip out again for an early ride. Lily laughed under her breath and patted Ember's nose. "I wish," she murmured, "but there's work to do." She moved along the barn aisle, greeting each horse in turn. Willow dozed in her stall, half-lidded eyes opening when Lily passed. A calm wave of acknowledgement brushed Lily's consciousness. Scout snorted a soft hello, while Petunia blinked as if to say, "Off so soon." Lily felt a swell of happiness at how natural their silent exchanges had become. Each horse possessed a distinct presence, and she no longer questioned the reality of it. Before she could linger, she recalled her father's request. She forced herself to leave the barn and trudged around back, where a small storage room adjoined the main structure. The old wooden door groaned on its hinges as she pulled it open, revealing a cramped space stacked with broken tools, bent nails, and warped boards. Dust motes danced in the slivers of sunlight. Lily sighed, thinking this job could last all day. She got to work, sorting anything salvageable from the outright trash. Rusty shovels and dented feed buckets formed precarious piles as Lily made her way deeper into the clutter. She found an old bridling harness, stiff with disuse, and paused to examine it. The leather was cracked, the metal fastenings tarnished. A pang of sympathy ran through her. Who had this harness once belonged to? Had it chafed a horse's head, or was it well loved? Biting her lip, Lily laid it aside in a separate, unsure pile. Perhaps it could be refurbished. She continued her excavations until her arms ached. Sometime later, her father appeared in the doorway, wiping sweat from his brow. "Making progress?" he asked, stepping inside. His gaze swept the half-sorted mess. "I guess so," Lily answered. A swirl of dust tickled her nose, and she sneezed. Her father offered a faint smile, then pointed to a rickety shelf in the corner. "Keep going. We'll bring the Cooper family in next hour or so to show them the hay. After that, we can haul any junk to the dump." Lily nodded. Despite her best efforts, her mind wandered. She thought of the clearings pool, of the wordless communion she had felt there. The sense of being called back was strong, as if the forest gently beckoned. But she had responsibilities. She couldn't abandon them. She mustered a determined shrug and resumed sorting. By midday, Lily had organized the contents of the storage room into labeled piles. Her arms felt like lead, and her hair stuck to her forehead. Outside, the sun shone mercilessly, though a cool breeze hinted at coming autumn. She glanced across the yard, where her mother was showing the Coopers around. They pointed at stacks of hay bales, while her mother talked in animated gestures. Lily decided to slip away for a minute to check on the horses. As she neared the paddock, she sensed a subdued energy. Scout and Willow stood side by side, quietly swishing flies, while Petunia dozed under a small patch of shade. But Ember was nowhere in sight. Lily frowned, scanning the fence line until she spotted the young mare trotting nervously by the far corner, ears pinned back. A wave of unease flitted through Lily's consciousness, like a tremor that made her stomach clench. She approached slowly, calling Ember's name both aloud and silently. The mare halted, nostrils flaring, then tossed her head. Anxiety flickered in Lily's mind, images of a strange figure crossing the boundary near the orchard. Lily froze. Had someone come onto their land? Or was it just a distant memory from Ember's imagination? She climbed the fence and landed on the other side. "What's wrong?" she thought, directing the question toward Ember. The mare pawed the ground, her eyes wide. Lily felt an impression of unease, the sense that something out there was stirring. She walked closer, gently pressing her palm to Ember's neck. Gradually, Ember's breathing slowed, though her ears remained swiveled toward the orchard. Lily glanced that way but saw no one. Perhaps Ember had caught the scent of a coyote or raccoon. She sent calm reassurance back, easing the mare's tension. Eventually, Ember let out a long sigh, as if relinquishing her alarm. Lily stroked her nose, gazing into the orchard's swaying trees. A mild worry gnawed at her. Was there something lurking, or was it merely a product of Ember's flighty mood? She decided not to mention it to her parents. They had enough on their plates without worrying about spooking a horse's imagination. Still, Lily made a mental note to remain alert. With Ember calmed, Lily returned to the storage room, intending to finish her chores, but her mind remained partially attuned to the horses. She sensed Willow's serene presence, Scout's steady watchfulness, and Ember's occasional flickers of apprehension. If at any point the alarm rose again, Lily was prepared to dash outside, yet the afternoon unfolded quietly. The Coopers came, loaded their hay, thanked her mother profusely, and drove off. Lily's father praised her for clearing so much of the junk in the storage area. Finally, near sunset, Lily felt free to slip away. She hurried to the barn, where she saw Willow and Petunia calmly munching from their feed buckets. Scout dozed contentedly, eyelids drooping. Ember was in her stall, pacing in a restless circle. Lily entered with caution, whispering the mare's name. Ember flicked an ear and stopped pacing, though tension still radiated from her. "You're still on edge," Lily said gently, placing a hand on the mare's withers. "Did you really see something, or was it just a passing shadow?" A subdued image flitted through Lily's mind, tall grass stirring near the orchard, a flash of movement that felt both curious and unsettling. It was too vague to interpret clearly. Lily soothed Ember with affectionate strokes, mentally projecting calm. Slowly, Ember's muscles relaxed, and she exhaled a low sigh. Lily felt the mare's gratitude. Whatever the disturbance had been, it was gone now, and Lily trusted her father would have noticed if a stranger trespassed. As twilight fell, Lily fed the horses, each receiving a share of fresh hay and grain. The barn lights cast a warm glow on wooden beams. The routine felt grounding after a day of swirling emotions. Once she latched the stalls for the night, Lily made her way to the house, exhaustion tugging at her limbs. Dinner was a simple affair: roast chicken, carrots, and mashed potatoes. Lily ate quietly, her mother and father engaged in talk about finances and the next repair job. She noticed the lines of fatigue etched on her father's face, the slight slump of her mother's shoulders. A pang of guilt pinched Lily. Her parents worked tirelessly to keep the ranch afloat, and here she was, keeping secrets. Part of her longed to spill everything, to describe galloping through the forest with Ember, feeling a telepathic bond stronger than any bridle or rein, but she couldn't bear the thought of their disbelief. A short time later, Lily climbed the stairs to her bedroom, stepping carefully on creaking boards. She changed into her nightclothes, then sank onto her bed. Outside her window, the sky glowed with starlight. The day had carried an undercurrent of tension, courtesy of Ember's anxiety, though Lily wasn't sure if the orchard incident was a sign of real danger or just a fleeting spook. Sighing, she closed her eyes and tested the link that had grown more natural each time she used it. She reached out, searching for the comforting presences of her horses. A wave of contentment rolled over her like a gentle tide. Willow was half asleep, but Lily felt a flicker of maternal warmth. Scout rested, mind quiet and steady. Petunia, in her older wisdom, exuded a calm acceptance of nightfall. And Ember remained somewhat restless, a swirl of curiosity and caution. Lily sent reassurance, letting the mare know that all was well. A drowsy comfort filled her. Still, she couldn't shake the question of whether Ember's reaction portended something more. Memories of the orchard sprang to mind, how the orchard trees once produced sweet apples, though many had fallen into disrepair over the past few years. Lily wondered if local wildlife used the area as a den. Her parents rarely ventured that way. Maybe tomorrow, Lily told herself, she would do a quick check just to ease Ember's nerves. Her eyelids grew heavy. Sleep tugged at her, but her mind wouldn't quite settle. She recalled the clearing's pool, the dance of sunlight across that crystalline water. A powerful longing seized her, as if the forest were calling again. Yet the orchard overshadowed those thoughts, feeding her curiosity. At last, she rolled onto her side, letting the rhythmic breaths of the horses lull her from a distance. She pictured their steady heartbeats weaving into her own until her mind drifted into slumber. She dreamed of gentle hoofbeats on soft grass, a row of trees rustling in the night breeze. Shadows moved between trunks, shapes without form, stirring leaves in a steady whisper. Ember appeared, luminous in the moonlight, beckoning Lily deeper into the orchard. Lily followed, her heart thudding with a mix of fear and wonder. She thought she saw a gleaming pair of eyes in the distance, but then the dream dissolved into shifting patterns of light. When she woke the next morning, pale sunbeams streamed through the window. Lily sat up, blinking away the dream's remnants. The orchard? Had Ember truly sensed something there, or was Lily's imagination spinning tales? Rubbing her face, Lily rose to meet the day, half determined to visit that spot. But first, she would see to the horses and ensure Ember's worries had faded with the dawn. When Lily awoke, a soft glow rimmed the horizon. The night's dream about the orchard remained vivid in her mind, and a mild sense of unease lingered in the pit of her stomach. Yawning, she slipped into a pair of jeans and a comfy sweatshirt. then quietly padded downstairs. The house was still, save for the gentle creaking of old floorboards. Outside, a few birds greeted the day with bright calls, though the rest of the ranch dozed on. She stepped onto the porch, inhaling the crisp morning air. Her eyes drifted toward the orchard, where dark silhouettes of apple trees stood like silent sentinels. Something in that half-shadowed stand of trees tugged at her thoughts. Ember's fears from the previous day returned in a wave of memory. Those flashes of movement at the edge of the orchard, the lingering tension in the mare's body. Lily pursed her lips, determined to see for herself what might be lurking. After a brief stop in the barn to say good morning to the horses, she found Ember awake and alert, already gazing in the orchard's direction as though expecting Lily. Willow nickered a greeting, while Petunia and Scout remained half asleep. Lily approached Ember slowly, sending a wordless reassurance. "We'll check this out together." The mare's ears flicked, and she lowered her head, exhaling softly. Lily sensed a subdued mix of courage and caution radiating from Ember's mind. She decided to leave the saddles behind, opting instead for the closeness of bareback riding. Once she slipped a halter over Ember's head, more to soothe her parents than out of necessity. She led the mare from the barn. The sky gradually brightened, and Lily glanced around, relieved that neither parent was up yet. She wanted to investigate without causing undue alarm. If she found nothing amiss, she would simply go on with her chores. Mounting Ember near the paddock gate, she settled herself carefully onto the mare's back. Ember's muscles quivered with subdued excitement. They set off at a steady walk, the rhythmic clop of hoofbeats echoing across dew-soaked grass. Lily relished the early hush, broken only by the occasional crow of a distant rooster. Each breath tasted cool and fresh, hinting at the final weeks of summer. As they drew closer to the orchard, Ember's ears twitched in every direction. Lily guided her toward a narrow path flanked by apple trees that had been neglected for years. Gnarled branches arched overhead, forming a shadowy tunnel. Wild grasses spread at the base of each trunk, and scattered, half-rotten apples dotted the ground. A faint smell of sweet decay mingled with morning dampness, stirring an odd ache of nostalgia in Lily's chest. She recalled simpler days when her parents used to harvest fruit here. Moving deeper into the orchard, Lily noticed the hush sharpen. Even the birds seemed reluctant to sing among the twisting branches. Ember's stride slowed. Lily felt a ripple of tension run through the mare's shoulders, matched by a pang of unease in her own heart. She tried to project calm. "We're all right. I'm with you." A subtle response, Ember's ears pricked forward, told her the message was received, though the mare remained on alert. Suddenly, Ember halted, nostrils flaring. Lily's pulse leapt. She scanned the orchard's dim rows and glimpsed a shape moving between the trees. A hush draped the moment, tightening Lily's chest. For an instant, she thought it could be a person, maybe a trespasser or some drifter, but then a flash of tawny fur emerged from behind a trunk. A lean, long-limbed creature slipped through the orchard, glancing their way with luminous eyes before slinking off. It was a coyote, or perhaps a stray dog, rummaging for fallen fruit or small prey. Relief loosened Lily's taut muscles. She stroked Ember's neck, letting the mare know the intruder was nothing menacing. "It's just a hungry animal," Lily thought, focusing on images of an innocuous coyote sniffing around for food. Ember snorted in cautious acknowledgement. They pressed onward, weaving through thick patches of brush. A few half-broken fences jutted from the ground, remnants of older enclosures that Lily's father hadn't repaired in years. A short while later, they reached a clearing at the orchard's heart, where an ancient apple tree stood, trunk wide as a barrel, bark deeply furrowed by decades of growth. Moss clung to the roots, and scattered around were rusted buckets, old crates, and a toppled ladder. Lily dismounted and walked Ember forward, curiosity driving her to look around. It felt strangely serene here, despite the orchard's neglected state. Sunbeams filtered through the canopy, illuminating cobwebs spun between branches. Lily found a few apples still clinging to boughs overhead. She picked one from the ground, turning it in her hands. Its skin bore spots and bruises, but a crisp fragrance rose from beneath the blemishes. She felt a pang of sadness at the orchard's decline. She remembered harvest times from childhood, picking baskets of apples with her parents, then pressing cider to share with neighbors. Ember shifted restlessly, pouring the soft earth. Lily listened and felt a dim wave of confusion emanate from the mare's mind. The orchard was quiet, the coyote long gone. Why did Ember still feel uneasy? Lily looked around for further clues. Amid a pile of rotted wood, she spotted footprints, not deep, but unmistakably human, leading away from the center of the clearing. Her breath caught in her throat. Someone had been here recently, though she had no idea who. She stepped closer to examine the tracks. They were faint impressions in the damp soil, perhaps 2 days old, maybe less. Lily's pulse quickened. If someone had been skulking around the orchard at night, it might explain Ember's alarm. But what reason would a stranger have for sneaking around neglected apple trees? She felt Ember's tension spike. Quickly, Lily placed a reassuring hand on the mare's shoulder, sending calming thoughts. We're safe. No one's here now. Ember lowered her head, exhaling a warm puff of breath against Lily's arm. Quiet settled again. Though Lily's mind churned with possibilities, she wondered if she should tell her father about the footprints. However, she dreaded the awkward questions that would follow. She'd have to explain why she was riding alone at dawn, or how she noticed tiny tracks in a forgotten orchard. Maybe it was harmless, a traveler taking a shortcut, but the uncertainty unsettled her. Returning to Ember's side, Lily sighed and prepared to head back. She mounted swiftly, guiding Ember away from the ancient tree. The mare walked with careful steps, ears swiveling as if listening for further signs of disturbance. Lily's own senses felt heightened, aware of each rustle in the underbrush and each breath of wind. After the orchard's dense hush, re-emerging onto open farmland felt like surfacing from underwater. They trotted across a patch of wild grass, the barn's roof visible in the distance. Overhead, the sky had brightened into a pale, cloud-dappled blue. Lily inhaled, letting the orchard's unease slip away. She resolved to keep watch. If the horses sensed more danger, she would investigate again, maybe with her father this time. For now, she was content knowing that no immediate threat seemed to loom, aside from a stray coyote or an unknown passerby. Back at the barn, Lily dismounted, giving Ember a grateful pat. Her father appeared from behind a stack of hay, eyebrows arched in mild surprise. "You've been up already?" he asked, glancing at Ember's slightly damp coat. Lily nodded, forcing an easy smile. "Just took Ember out for a stretch before chores." Her father studied her for a moment, then shrugged. "All right, I need you to help me load a few more bales if you're free." Though she was still rattled by the footprints, Lily kept her face neutral. She followed her father into the barn, helping him hoist hay bales onto a pallet. The repetitive heft and stack gave her a chance to think about the orchard. What if the stranger returned? She wished she could ask the horses to stand guard, but that was absurd. Unless their heightened senses could actually spot intruders. Then again, Lily no longer dismissed her bond with them as mere fancy. If Ember picked up something out of the ordinary, Lily would know. As the morning wore on, Lily completed her usual list of chores, feeding the chickens, collecting eggs, and watering the vegetable garden. She caught occasional glimpses of Willow and Scout grazing peacefully, their minds as calm as ever. Petunia dozed in the shade, clearly unruffled by orchard mysteries. Ember, however, paced now and then, especially if Lily was out of sight. Lily tried to soothe her from a distance by projecting thoughts of safety and routine. Gradually, the mare settled. Over lunch, Lily's mother mentioned hearing coyote howls at dawn. Lily feigned mild surprise, though her heart pounded. She decided to share just enough to ease suspicion. "I saw one near the orchard earlier," she said, sipping water, probably sniffing around for apples. Her mother frowned. "I hope it keeps its distance." "Last thing we need is a lost pup harassing the horses." Lily nodded, making no mention of footprints or Ember's agitation. That afternoon, Lily found herself alone in the tack room, reorganizing horse blankets and brushes. The silence reminded her of the orchard's hush. A pang of curiosity prodded her. Who might have been leaving footprints out there, and why? If the coyote was scaring them off, maybe they wouldn't return, but that offered little reassurance. She gathered a few grooming supplies and stepped into the aisle, deciding to check on Ember again. To her relief, Ember seemed calmer now, munching hay in her stall. A wave of reassurance greeted Lily. She reached out mentally to ask if the orchard still troubled Ember, but sensed only mild unease that had faded since morning. Lily let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Perhaps the orchard scare was over. Still, her curiosity remained unsatisfied. She resolved to visit the clearing again soon. Maybe bring Willow or Scout and see if any new signs of a trespasser emerged. By evening, the sky darkened to a wash of purple and orange, and the ranch settled into its usual rhythm. Lily's mother prepared supper. Her father parked the truck by the barn, dusting his hands on his jeans. Lily stole a few minutes to stand by the paddock fence, eyes drifting toward the distant orchard. Ember stood on the opposite side of the fence, gazing at Lily in the twilight. Their bond felt steady, a silent promise that if anything stirred again, they would face it together. Night descended, stars flickering into view like tiny lanterns across a velvety sky. After dinner, Lily retreated to her bedroom, exhaustion tugging at her. She leaned against the windowsill, looking out over moonlit fields, her mind flicking between thoughts of the orchard's footprints and her deeper connection with the horses. She wondered if she could train that connection to detect more than just emotional signals. Could she see what Ember saw, feel what Willow felt from afar? Her eyelids grew heavy. Slipping beneath her covers, she focused on the gentle presence of her herd. One by one, she mentally checked in. Willow was calm and half asleep. Petunia drowsed contentedly. Scout breathed in a slow, steady rhythm. Ember was quiet now, though Lily sensed a lingering spark of vigilance in her thoughts. Lily sent a final wave of warmth, letting the mare know they were safe for the night. Then, lulled by the silent interplay of their hearts, Lily drifted off. Lily stirred awake at dawn, the soft light of early morning spilling through her bedroom window. She lay motionless for a while, allowing her thoughts to drift between half-remembered dreams and the gentle awareness of the horses in the barn. Ember, in particular, still exuded a cautious, restless energy that tugged at Lily's heart. She wondered if the footprints she had discovered in the orchard explained the mare's unease, and whether the stranger who left them might return. As the house roused with muted creaks, Lily eased herself out of bed and dressed quickly, a slight tingle of anticipation fueling her movements. Downstairs, the kitchen smelled of frying bacon and fresh coffee. Her father sat at the table, scribbling notes in his ledger, while her mother rinsed dishes in the sink. They exchanged the usual good mornings. Lily took a seat, trying not to let her inner thoughts show on her face. She was certain neither parent suspected a thing. They seemed content to believe their daughter was simply caught up in ranch chores and her love for the horses. Lily kept her head down, busying herself with scrambled eggs and toast, determined to maintain an air of normalcy. After breakfast, her mother ran through the day's plans: more deliveries, some repairs on a squeaky barn door, and a possible visit from a neighbor to discuss the upcoming harvest season. Lily nodded along, though her mind drifted again to the orchard. She recalled the old footprints etched in damp ground, each step a small puzzle piece hinting at a story she didn't know. Was it a wanderer, a poacher, or someone with a more innocent reason for passing through? She felt compelled to find answers, yet she had little chance to slip away unnoticed. True to routine, Lily started morning chores by hauling fresh water to the chicken coop, then topping off the trough near the paddock. The horses greeted her in their usual fashion: Willow with calm acceptance, Scout with a friendly snort, Petunia flicking an ear in polite acknowledgement. Ember, however, paced at the fence, eyes trained on Lily. A subtle wave of relief washed over Lily, as if Ember were glad to see her up and about so soon. Lily smiled and mentally sent a greeting, feeling the mare's guarded curiosity coil and loosen like a taut rope undone. She paused to stroke Ember's mane, allowing the connection between them to strengthen in those still moments. The orchard's memory flickered through Lily's thoughts. The knotted branches, the damp footprints, and the coyote's brief appearance. A soft question formed in her mind, directed at Ember. "Do you sense anything now?" A whisper of uncertainty returned, accompanied by a murky image of swaying grass. Whatever Ember had felt remained vague, so Lily decided not to push. She gave the mare a comforting pat, then set about feeding the horses. By midday, Lily finished her assigned tasks and grabbed a few minutes to herself in the barn. She settled on an upturned bucket, letting the sounds of shuffling hooves lull her. She half listened to her father's voice outside, guiding a neighbor who'd arrived for a chat. Glancing around, Lily studied the neat rows of bridles and halters hanging on pegs. She remembered discovering that cracked old harness in the storage room, the tangible echo of years past. Sometimes she felt like the ranch itself teemed with dormant histories that only needed a nudge to resurface. When she heard the neighbor's truck pull away, Lily ventured outside. The sun sat high, casting sharp shadows beneath the barn eaves. Her father paused to speak with her, pointing out a few small repairs he wanted done on a loose gate latch. Lily agreed to help, though her heartbeat sped up in impatience. She longed to slip away, to revisit the orchard more thoroughly. As she and her father strolled to the tool shed, Lily tried to hide her restlessness by asking casual questions about the ranch's finances and harvest expectations. Her father seemed pleased by her interest, unaware that her true motives lay elsewhere. While fixing the gate latch, Lily's gaze kept drifting to the distant line of apple trees. She could see the orchard's fringes, but not the clearing within. Eventually, she mustered the nerve to ask, "Do we ever get trespassers around here?" Her father raised an eyebrow, adjusting the wrench in his grip. Sometimes the odd hiker or wanderer might cut across. "Why do you ask?" Lily shrugged, forcing a nonchalant tone. "I was in the orchard the other day and thought I saw footprints. Probably nothing." Her father frowned, scanning the horizon as if expecting to spot an interloper. "Could be a passing traveler," he allowed. "But keep an eye out. If you see anything that worries you, let me know. I don't want you riding alone if there's someone lurking." Lily nodded, her stomach twisting slightly. She didn't want to lose her freedom to explore, yet she felt relieved her father wasn't dismissing her concern outright. He tightened the final screw, tested the latch, then motioned for them to head back to the barn. With the latch secure, the rest of the afternoon slipped by in a blur of small tasks. Lily's mother set her to washing vegetables for a neighbor who'd asked for extra produce, so Lily spent a quiet hour rinsing dirt from carrots and potatoes. All the while, Thoughts of footprints prickled in her mind. She wondered if she should mention the orchard's neglected state to her father or propose cleaning it up. Perhaps renewed activity among the trees would dissuade strangers from skulking about. Yet she said nothing, preferring to bide her time. By late afternoon, Lily found a brief window when her parents were occupied. Her mother was in the kitchen, preparing a stew, while her father inspected some loose boards in the tractor shed. Seeing her chance, Lily slipped toward the barn, where Ember waited in the paddock. The mare picked up on Lily's intention immediately, trotting to the gate. Lily swung onto Ember's back without a saddle, her pulse fluttering in excitement and a pinch of apprehension. She wasn't sure if returning to the orchard alone was wise, but she yearned for clarity. Ember set off at an eager walk. As they passed the farmhouse, Lily craned her neck to ensure her parents weren't watching. Satisfied she'd gone unnoticed, she nudged Ember into a light trot across the field. The late-day sun lent everything a golden hue, from the grass to the fences that cast long shadows. Lily felt the mare's muscles ripple beneath her, carrying them closer to the orchard's edge. A hush settled over the path as soon as they dipped beneath the apple trees. The orchard seemed unchanged, its gnarled limbs and tangled undergrowth creating a maze of half-light. Dust motes swirled in the beams that cut through overhead gaps. Lily guided Ember along the route she remembered from that morning, skirting piles of fallen fruit and weaving around stray branches. They reached the large clearing with the ancient apple tree. Soft sunlight poured in from one side, illuminating the mossy trunk and the rotted crates. Lily dismounted, tension coiling inside her belly. She looked around for any new signs of disturbance. Sure enough, fresh footprints pressed into a muddy patch near the far edge of the clearing. Lily's heart thudded. These prints appeared smaller and shallower, as if someone had stepped carefully. She knelt to examine them, while Ember sniffed at a half-rotten bucket. Lily traced her fingertips along the grooves, noting that they seemed newer than the older prints she'd found. She couldn't tell if it was the same person, but it certainly wasn't an animal. Ember tossed her head, letting out a low nicker that echoed Lily's unease. Lily stood, scanning the shadows between tree trunks. Nothing moved. The orchard was still as a painting, yet Lily felt a prickling sensation on the back of her neck. Whoever left these footprints had come recently, perhaps earlier that day. She thought about calling out, but the idea made her mouth go dry. She wasn't ready to confront a stranger alone. Instead, Lily decided to do a quick loop around the clearing's perimeter. Leading Ember by the halter, she stepped past clumps of tall grass and piles of broken orchard equipment. A battered wooden ladder lay half-buried near a trunk. She spotted footprints again, weaving in and out of the shadows like faint breadcrumbs. Her heart pounded with each discovery. Ember snorted, ears pricked forward, staying close to Lily's side. They circled back to the central tree. Lily glanced up at its heavy branches, remembering a time she'd climbed them in childhood, filling a basket with apples. She noticed some snapped twigs near a low-hanging bough, suggesting someone might have clambered onto that very limb. Goosebumps rose on her arms. She couldn't ignore the evidence. This wasn't just a one-time passerby. Someone was returning to the orchard for reasons unknown, sneaking around with apparent care. An uneasy tension lodged in Lily's chest. She wondered if she should head back immediately, fetch her father, and show him the new tracks. But a stubborn part of her wanted to investigate further. What if the footprints led to answers about who was roaming their land? Then again, the thought of surprising a trespasser alone made her palms sweat. She patted Ember's neck, taking comfort in the mare's steady presence. They might be out of their depth, and Lily's family might be in real danger if the stranger bore ill will. Steeling herself, Lily made the decision to retreat. She could always return with her father, or at least with another horse. With a final glance at the footprints, Lily swung onto Ember's back. The mare seemed relieved, picking up an immediate trot toward home. A swirl of dusklight filtered through the apple leaves, painting their exit in warm, flickering tones. As they emerged from the orchard and entered the open field, Lily exhaled a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Evening shadows stretched long across the ranch. Ember moved briskly, as if eager to be rid of the orchard's strange hush. By the time they reached the barn, the sun was dipping below the horizon, turning the sky shades of pink and tangerine. Lily slid to the ground, a tremor of residual fear in her limbs. Leading Ember into her stall, Lily whispered an apology for the tension. She pressed her forehead briefly against the mare's warm shoulder, feeling a wave of empathy swirl between them. Ember's fear had mellowed into cautious curiosity, reflecting Lily's own muddled thoughts. She could almost hear the horse's question, "Will we go back?" Lily had no answer. All she knew was that something and someone kept visiting the orchard. That evening, Lily hovered in the barn aisle long after the sun had sunk below the horizon. She leaned against Ember's stall door, replaying the day's discoveries over and over in her mind. Fresh footprints, snapped twigs, and the unsettling feeling that someone was skulking around the orchard, none of it made sense. A swirl of questions and possibilities tore at her thoughts. Every so often, she reached out mentally to Ember, hoping the mare's keen senses might offer some clue, but Ember only returned a confused uncertainty. The orchard mystery felt like a knot Lily couldn't untangle alone. She eventually mustered the resolve to tell her father, though part of her feared losing her freedom to ride out whenever she wished. She couldn't keep quiet. That night, after dinner, Lily found her father in the den, rifling through a stack of receipts. He looked up, brow furrowed at her obvious hesitation. "Dad," she began, voice wavering, "I went back to the orchard. I found more footprints. They're fresh. Someone keeps showing up there." Her father set down the papers and folded his hands. "You sure it's not just that coyote?" Lily shook her head. "No, these are definitely footprints, human footprints. I saw broken branches too, as if someone climbed one of the old trees." Tension tightened his features, and he exhaled sharply. "All right," he said at last. "Tomorrow morning, we'll take a look together. But until then, stay away from there." "Got it?" Lily nodded, relief mixing with apprehension. She knew he'd react protectively, yet she couldn't shake the feeling that whoever roamed the orchard had no intention of stopping. Sleep was restless that night. Lily's dreams twisted with half-formed visions of shadows slipping among apple trees, leaving cryptic footprints behind. She woke before dawn, heart pounding at the memory, and hurried to dress. Her father was in the kitchen, sipping black coffee, hat perched on the table beside him. He motioned for her to join him. "Soon as we're done with chores, we'll head out," he said. She forced down a slice of toast, her stomach tied in knots. They began by feeding and watering the horses. Lily noted Ember's taut energy, the mare pacing her stall and flicking her ears. Willow offered Lily a calm glance, while Scout and Petunia ate quietly. Lily could sense the entire barn humming with anticipation, as if the horses felt a brewing tension. Once the tasks were finished, father and daughter crossed the yard toward the orchard. Lily led him along the same path she'd followed the previous afternoon. Sunbeams pierced the canopy of apple trees, illuminating patches of grass and rotted fruit. The orchard felt strangely silent at this hour, not even the rustle of wings or a coyote's distant call to break the hush. Lily guided her father to the clearing with the ancient apple tree, heart thumping as she recalled the footprints. She pointed to where she'd seen the fresh impressions. Together, they knelt by the muddy patch. Though the prints had partially dried, the shape was still clear, a small, narrow foot. Lily's father set his jaw. "These don't look like some ranch hand's boots," he muttered, pressing his palm against the imprint. Could be a trespasser camping around here, or maybe a kid from town messing around. Lily felt a chill at the thought of a child alone in the orchard. She swept her gaze around the clearing, scanning for more clues. Her father rose and checked near the fallen crates. He grimaced at the sight of broken boards and rusty nails. "It's not safe," he said. "Someone could get hurt." They circled the area, finding one more set of tracks leading deeper into the trees, then disappearing on a patch of bare earth. Her father paused, scratching the stubble on his chin. "Whoever it is might come at odd hours to avoid us. If we catch them, we can figure out what they're up to." He turned to Lily, stern concern in his eyes. "But no more solo trips here." "Promise me." Lily hesitated, casting a glance at the orchard's gnarled branches. She wanted to protest Ember's warnings, her own curiosity, but the determination in her father's voice made her nod. "I promise," she said quietly. "I don't want any trouble." Her father squeezed her shoulder, then headed back the way they came. Lily followed, her thoughts whirling. She could sense Ember's relief that Lily wasn't alone anymore. Yet she also felt the mayor's unanswered questions mirrored in her own mind. For the next few days, Lily avoided the orchard, honoring her word. She spent her time assisting with chores, grooming the horses, and feeling out Ember's moods. When the mayor grew restless, Lily soothed her with calm mental messages, ensuring her that they were safe. But that sense of something unresolved lingered at the fringes of Lily's awareness. She had never been one to leave a mystery half explored, and the orchard's footprints weighed on her like an unfinished puzzle. One afternoon, Lily's father mentioned posting a sign near the orchard's entrance, "Private property, no trespassing." He also joked about setting up a hidden camera, though Lily doubted he was serious. The ranch had few modern gadgets, and her father wasn't the sort to fuss with technology. Still, Lily considered it. If they captured a photo of the stranger, they'd have answers. Each time she pictured reviewing a camera's footage, she imagined a silhouette weaving among the apple trees at night, perhaps carrying something mysterious. The tension mounted further when Ember spooked one evening without warning. Lily was brushing Willow in the barn when Ember suddenly began kicking at her stall door. Rushing over, Lily found the mare trembling, ears pinned, eyes darting to the barn's open doorway. Outside, the sun dipped low over the horizon, painting the sky with deep oranges and pinks. Lily placed a hand on Ember's neck, sending waves of reassurance. She picked up a flicker of alarm from the mare, an impression of movement near the orchard. Lily glanced out into the twilight but saw only the gentle sway of tree silhouettes. Lily's father, alerted by the commotion, came running. "What's gotten into her?" he asked. Lily shook her head, swallowing her concern. "I'm not sure," she lied, unwilling to worry him further. "Maybe she heard a noise." Her father frowned at Ember's state, then checked the yard. At length he shrugged. "Could be a stray critter. Let's settle her down." It took nearly 20 minutes for Ember to relax enough to accept a small portion of grain. By then, Lily's heart thudded with an unsettling certainty. The orchard trespasser was back. That night, Lily struggled to sleep. She tossed and turned, half listening to the night sounds beyond her window. Just before midnight, she slipped out of bed and pressed her forehead to the cool glass, scanning the darkness for any sign of movement. The moon hung above the orchard, illuminating the outlines of the trees in pale silver. She imagined a figure creeping under those branches, avoiding the ranch lights, leaving quiet footprints in damp earth. A shiver ran down her spine. Could it be someone in need of help? Or was there a threat no one had guessed? She listened to Ember's distant presence, an undercurrent of anxiety but not outright terror. That meant the orchard was quiet, for now at least. Still, Lily's mind buzzed with the urge to do something more direct than wait for the stranger to appear. She closed her eyes, murmuring a silent apology to Ember for not riding out to investigate. But she'd promised her father. If she broke that promise, she could lose their trust completely. Days passed in cautious vigil, with no fresh disturbances. Lily began to wonder if the stranger had moved on, leaving only footprints and splintered branches as a riddle. Even Ember seemed calmer. The mare spent her days grazing, occasionally lifting her head to stare at the orchard, as if pondering an old memory. Lily almost allowed herself to relax, throwing her energy instead into helping her mother prepare for a small farm stand sale at the front gate. The ranch's produce was in demand, and Lily's parents were pleased by the steady trickle of customers arriving to buy vegetables, eggs, and homemade jams. On the fifth evening since the orchard inspection, Lily found herself alone in the barn at twilight, listening to the quiet munch of hay. Her parents had driven to town for supplies, leaving Lily in charge of feeding. She went from stall to stall, distributing flakes of hay and checking water buckets. She paused at Ember's stall, stroking the mare's muzzle. "Everything's been calm," Lily said softly. "Maybe the footprints were a coincidence." An answering thread of doubt vibrated through her link with Ember. Lily bit her lip. She sensed the mare wasn't so easily convinced. No sooner had Lily left the barn than she heard a distant clang from the orchard's direction, like metal striking wood. She froze, pulse hammering. The sound was faint, but distinct in the evening hush. Ember let out a sharp whinny, echoing Lily's alarm. Torn between her promise to her father and the instinct to protect the ranch, Lily stood rooted to the spot. Another clang rang out, fainter this time. She couldn't ignore it. Heart-pounding, she ran back into the barn, grabbed a halter, and flung it over Ember's head. With trembling hands, she led the mare from her stall. "Just a quick check," Lily whispered, though her voice quavered. Ember tossed her head as if to say, "Hurry!" Lily guided the mare across the yard, praying that her parents wouldn't arrive to find her gone. The setting sun stained the sky deep crimson, the shadows lengthening over the orchard. Lily mounted Ember bareback, nerves sparking. Together, they advanced toward the trees. The orchard felt alive with tension. Branches creaked, and the last rays of daylight dissolved into a murky twilight. Lily guided Ember along the narrow path, urging the mare to stay as quiet as possible. The orchard's hush amplified every snap of a twig beneath Ember's hooves. Lily's heart thudded so loudly she was certain any nearby intruder would hear it. Again, she heard that metallic clang, closer now, as though someone fumbled with junk among the old crates. They entered the central clearing. A shape darted behind the ancient apple tree, too quick for Lily to discern any details. Ember tensed, flaring her nostrils. Lily clenched her jaw, forcing calm into her mind, hoping to keep Ember steady. She called out softly, "Hello, who's there?" Her voice trembled in the half-dark. Silence answered, thick and oppressive. Then she heard a rustle in the tall grass near the crates. Lily inched Ember forward, her heart hammering in her ears. In the dying light, she finally spotted a small figure, thin, stooped, with hair that caught the red glow of sunset. The stranger clutched an old metal pail, eyes wide with fear. Lily gasped. The figure looked no older than Lily herself, a child, or maybe a young teenager, crouched among the orchard's debris. Ember snorted. The figure scrambled back, nearly toppling over a rusted bucket. Lily raised a hand, voice spilling out in a rush of concern. "Wait, don't be scared." She slipped off Ember's back, landing softly, her heart pounded. This was no fearsome trespasser, but a frightened kid. "Are you okay?" Lily ventured, stepping closer. The orchard's hush pressed in from all sides, the moment stretched taut. At first, The stranger said nothing, eyes flicking between Lily and the horse. Lily noticed the ragged clothes, the dirt-stained hands. She recalled the footprints, small, cautious, scattered through the orchard. This had to be the person who'd been sneaking around. Lily's sympathy blossomed despite her alarm. Slowly, she held out a hand, palm up, to show she meant no harm. Ember stood still, picking up on Lily's calm but tense energy. The stranger swallowed, letting the pail slip from trembling fingers. It clattered against a broken board, echoing off the apple tree's trunk. At last, in a voice barely above a whisper, the child spoke. "I'm sorry," the stranger said, each syllable quavering. "Please don't tell anyone. I just needed a place to stay." Lily's heart pounded as the child's words tumbled through the twilight orchard, drifting on the hush between the apple trees. Ember shifted behind her, restless but calm, responding to the tension in Lily's posture. For a moment, Lily could only stare. This wasn't the confrontation she'd imagined. No angry drifter or sly poacher rummaging through the orchard's remains. Instead, she saw a frightened kid, thin and disheveled, eyes gleaming with anxiety in the failing light. "It's okay," Lily found herself saying, her voice barely above a whisper. She kept her hand extended, though the child made no move to take it. "I'm not here to hurt you, just tell me what's going on." The stranger hesitated, glancing at the pail that had clanged against the broken wood. Lily could see more details now. A threadbare sweater, jeans with torn knees, and a face that looked pale and hollow under a layer of orchard dust. The child swallowed, voice trembling. I've been sleeping here. I was careful to stay hidden. I'm sorry if I scared your horse." Lily's mind reeled. Sleeping here, she pictured the old crates and damp ground, the nightly chill, the coyote sightings. "But why?" she asked gently. "There must be somewhere safer for you to stay." The child's eyes dropped, a flicker of shame shadowing their face. "I ran away," they mumbled, hugging themselves as though to stave off a deeper cold. "My aunt's place wasn't good. So I walked until I found your orchard. I didn't think anyone used it, except maybe for apples. I didn't mean to trespass." Unease swirled in Lily's stomach. She remembered the footprints and Ember's mounting anxiety. This fragile figure was the cause of so much worry, yet it felt impossible to be angry. Compassion flooded Lily's chest. She wished her father were there to help decide what to do, but she'd come alone, defying his warning. She swallowed hard, glancing around the dim clearing. "How long have you been out here?" The child shrugged, shoulders hunched. "A few days, slept under that big tree. It kept the rain off. I found some apples to eat. Not great, but better than nothing." Tears pricked at Lily's eyes. She thought of the orchard's rotted fruit and the broken crates. How meager the comfort must be for someone with no proper bed. She also realized how precarious this situation was. Her father would want to know immediately. This was no mere intruder with ill intentions. "What's your name?" Lily asked softly, trying to keep her own voice calm. "Beck," the child said at last, eyes flicking toward Lily, then darting away again. "I'm 13. The words hung in the air as Lily struggled to process them. Beck looked younger, probably from exhaustion and hunger. Lily took a step forward, and though Beck stiffened, they didn't run. Ember snorted, the sound oddly gentle in the hush. Lily forced a small smile. "I'm Lily," she said, "and this is Ember." She patted the mare's flank, feeling the tension in her own body slowly ease. "You must be starving." Beck's gaze fell to the orchard floor again, as if admitting to that need was too big a risk. Lily sighed. "Look, we can't leave you out here like this." "My parents—" "No," Beck blurted, panic flashing across their face. "Please don't tell anyone. If you do, they'll send me back. I can't go back to my aunt's house. I won't." Lily's heart squeezed. She couldn't imagine what had pushed Beck to run away. At the same time, she knew how protective her father would be about having someone hidden on their property. She looked at Ember, whose ears flicked at Beck's anxious tone. Then Lily glanced at the tumbled crates and half-rotten apples. "You'll get sick out here," Lily said, a gentle firmness in her voice. "You can't stay forever in a broken orchard." "I'll leave soon," Beck insisted, but the words sounded hollow. "I'm just resting a few more days. I promise I won't cause trouble." Lily's mind raced for a solution that wouldn't cause immediate conflict. She couldn't turn away, leaving Beck to scavenge. "At least let me bring you some real food," she said at last, her voice quiet yet resolute. "And maybe a blanket. You can't sleep like this." Beck blinked rapidly, as if on the verge of tears. "Why would you help me? You don't even know me." 1,000 answers flitted through Lily's mind, none that fully conveyed her impulse to protect. She thought of Ember's empathy, the orchard's hush, and the footprints she'd followed. "Because you're alone," Lily said simply, "and I don't think that's right." For a tense moment, Beck said nothing, wringing their hands in the growing darkness. At last, they nodded, lips pressed tight. "Okay, just don't tell your parents, please." Lily's conscience twisted. She hated lying, but the desperation in Beck's voice was raw. "I won't lie forever," she warned, "but for tonight, I'll just say nothing. Let me at least bring you something to eat." Beck's posture sagged with relief. Lily took a breath, feeling Ember's steady presence at her side. "I'll be back in a bit," Lily promised. "Stay here, or wherever you feel safe." She hesitated, wanting to offer more comfort, but Beck had already inched behind the ancient tree's trunk, as if seeking shelter from the conversation. Lily realized it was all the trust they could manage for one evening. Leading Ember back toward the path, Lily felt an odd mixture of urgency and confusion. She'd stumbled onto a runaway who'd been sleeping under her family's trees. She couldn't alert her father without risking Beck's forced return to a place they clearly feared. Yet Lily couldn't ignore the deeper consequences of harboring a runaway. She guided Ember through the orchard, each step thrumming with questions. If her parents discovered the truth, they'd be furious Lily had kept secrets, but how could Lily turn away from someone who needed help? When she emerged from the orchard, the last vestiges of daylight melted into indigo. The ranch lights glowed in windows across the yard. Lily dismounted Ember in a rush, leading her back into the barn. She brushed the mare quickly, heart hammering at the thought of sneaking supplies. After situating Ember in her stall, Lily hurried to the house, steeling herself. Inside, her mother stood at the stove, stirring a pot. "Lily, there you are," she said. "I was just about to call you. Dinner's nearly ready." Lily swallowed the lump in her throat. "Thanks, Mum. I need to wash up." She rushed upstairs, rummaging for an old duffel bag in her closet. Her hands trembled as she stuffed a spare blanket, a flashlight, and a few snack bars she'd hidden for late-night cravings. She paused in the hallway, listening for voices below. Her parents still sounded busy with dinner preparations. Silverware clattered, water ran. Lily tiptoed down to the kitchen, slipping behind her father's back as he chopped vegetables. Her mother turned to set the table, and Lily seized the moment to grab a loaf of bread, some leftover fruit, and a couple of bottled waters. She jammed them into the bag, heart pounding so fiercely she worried her parents would hear it. "Lily, everything all right?" her mother asked without turning around, her voice casual. Lily forced a steady breath. "Yeah," she managed, inching away from the counter. "Just not super hungry yet." "I might have a snack later." Before her mother could question further, Lily fled the house, calling over her shoulder that she needed to check something in the barn. Once outside, she sprinted behind the barn and down the slope toward the orchard, the duffel bag slung awkwardly across her shoulders. The cool night air burned in her lungs as she approached the trees, mentally rehearsing how she'd slip away again if her parents came looking. In the orchard clearing, moonlight gleamed on the ancient apple tree. "Beck," Lily called softly, her gaze searching the tangled shadows. For a moment, she thought the child had disappeared. Then Beck emerged from behind the massive trunk, still wearing that wary expression. Lily approached slowly, raising the duffel. "I brought some things," she said, unzipping it to show the bread, water bottles, and blanket. Beck's eyes widened, relief and astonishment colliding on their face. Lily placed the bag on a relatively dry patch of grass, stepping back to show she wouldn't invade Beck's space. Ember's absence felt strange, but Lily sensed the horse's quiet encouragement from afar. "Thank you," Beck whispered, crouching to rummage through the supplies. They clutched the blanket, pressing it to their chest as though it were a lifeline. Then they tore open the bread, devouring a piece in hurried bites, as if afraid it might vanish. Lily's throat tightened. Do you need anything else?" Beck paused, eyes darting to the orchard's dark perimeter. "I'm all right for now. This is more than enough." A tense silence followed, broken only by the whisper of wind in the branches. Lily wondered whether she dared press for details of Beck's life. But the child's exhaustion was etched in every gesture, and Lily sensed it was too soon. She crouched at a respectful distance, hugging her knees. "Listen, if you need help finding somewhere safe, we can figure it out. I know you're scared, but—" "No one's safe," Beck cut in, a haunted look flickering in their eyes. "I'm not going back to that house. It's better here." Lily's heart twisted. She understood the raw finality in Beck's words. Pushing further now might drive the child away for good. She nodded, swallowing her concern. "I'll keep bringing supplies, but my parents might catch on. If they do, I can't promise they'll just let you stay here. They'll want to call the police." Beck stiffened, a tremor coursing through their slight frame. Lily extended her hand part-way, thinking to offer comfort. But again, Beck drew back. The orchard's gloom sharpened every small gesture into an echo of tension. "I'll handle it," Beck mumbled at last. "If it gets too risky, I'll leave." Lily had no idea how to respond, so she nodded again. A swirl of guilt churned in her gut as she imagined the potential fallout. Yet she couldn't abandon Beck to hunger or cold. She stood, the orchard grass tickling her ankles. "I have to go soon," she murmured. "Take care of yourself." "I'll come again when I can." Without waiting for Beck's reply, Lily slipped away, weaving through the orchard like a guilty phantom. An uneasy mixture of dread and hope weighed on her shoulders. What if Beck truly vanished? What if Lily's father discovered the hidden supplies? Worse, what if something else, sickness, a predator, claimed Beck in this wild orchard? She clenched her fists, biting back the impulse to cry. She hadn't asked for this secret, yet there it lay, waiting for her to hold it or abandon it. Returning to the house, Lily forced her expression into neutrality. Her parents had already begun eating. She slipped into her seat, her stomach twisting when her mother asked if everything was okay. Lily swallowed, lying with halting words. "Just had to check the barn door. It's fine now." Her father seemed distracted, so she avoided further eye contact. She felt certain that if either parent looked too closely, they'd see guilt etched on her face. That night, Lily barely slept. She lay rigid in bed, mind churning with visions of Beck curled under the orchard's ancient tree, clutching a tattered blanket for warmth. She replayed their frightened plea, "Don't tell anyone," until it echoed like a pulse in her skull. Ember's distant presence provided scant comfort. Lily knew the horse felt her turmoil, but without solutions. She realized this was not a simple question of defying her father's rules about riding alone. A human life was at stake. Morning arrived in a wash of pale light, and Lily rose like a ghost, her body sore from tension. She helped her mother in the kitchen, forced breakfast down, and darted outside to see the horses. Ember gazed at her with worried eyes, and Lily let the mare's muzzle rest on her shoulder for a moment, soaking up the quiet reassurance. She knew she couldn't keep secrets forever. But for now, until she figured out Beck's predicament, Lily resolved to protect them. Morning light filtered through Lily's curtains, painting the walls with soft gold as she stirred beneath her blanket. Sleep had been elusive, overshadowed by the memory of Beck crouched in the orchard's clearing. Lily's chest tightened each time she pictured the ragged clothes and hollow eyes. She could still feel Beck's fear, both of discovery and of returning to that house they dreaded. Yet the morning routine beckoned. The ranch wouldn't pause for secrets, and Lily had chores to do. Bracing herself, she rose and dressed, determined to deliver more supplies before her father noticed anything amiss. Downstairs, she found her mother scrambling eggs while her father flipped through a weathered notebook. They gave Lily polite nods, too absorbed in the day's plans to sense her unease. She mumbled something about needing fresh air and slipped out the door. The sky held the gentle hush of early morning, and Lily hurried to the barn, hoping to find a way to slip to the orchard unseen. She checked on Ember, who regarded her with large, questioning eyes. In that silent communion, Lily sensed the horse's lingering worry for Beck. Swiftly, Lily grabbed a canvas bag and began gathering supplies. She filled the bag with a few apples that hadn't spoiled, a hunk of bread from the kitchen, and a canteen of water. Her heart hammered when she glimpsed her father through the barn window, but he seemed busy inspecting a saddle strap. Darting outside, Lily led Ember into the paddock and climbed onto the mare's broad back without a saddle. Ember felt Lily's tension, snorting softly. A sunrise glow spread across the fields, yet Lily's thoughts centered on Beck, alone under that ancient tree. With a gentle nudge, she urged Ember toward the orchard, praying her parents wouldn't notice. The orchard greeted them with rustling branches and the sweet, decaying scent of fallen fruit. Beck was curled against the massive trunk, their thin arms wrapped in the blanket Lily had brought the previous night. At Lily's approach, Beck sprang up, eyes wide with alarm, until recognition softened their posture. Lily dismounted, letting Ember graze. With cautious relief, Beck accepted the bag of food. Their gratitude was palpable, yet overshadowed by dread. Lily noticed how Beck's hands shook, as if they hadn't fully warmed from the cold night. She yearned to ask about Beck's past, but held her questions in check. Instead, Lily crouched down, offering gentle reassurance. She described how her father had noticed footprints, but believed it might be a wandering traveler. The news made Beck pale. They tore off a chunk of bread, chewing nervously. Lily wished she could promise safety, but she herself felt torn. Should she alert her parents and risk betraying Beck's trust, or continue hiding the runaway, hoping no one else discovered the orchard's secret? Ember flicked her ears at distant noises, as though echoing Lily's unease. The morning sun glinted through the leaves, hinting at a day that wouldn't wait for Lily's indecision. "I'll come back later," Lily told Beck, forcing a reassuring smile. She urged them to stay quiet if anyone approached. Beck nodded, eyes flicking to Ember with hesitant wonder. Before departing, Lily pulled a small notepad from her pocket and scribbled her name and phone number. Pressing it into Beck's hand, she said, "If you need me and I'm not here, call." Beck clutched the note like a lifeline. Mounting Ember, Lily cast one last glance at the ragged figure beneath the apple tree. Though her heart clenched, she reminded herself that she couldn't solve everything alone. She needed help. Back at the barn, she crossed paths with her father, who eyed Ember's sweaty flanks suspiciously. Lily mumbled about taking an early ride for exercise, trying not to betray her racing pulse. He frowned but said nothing. Shifting his attention to the broken water pump near the trough, Lily exhaled in relief and busied herself with grooming Ember. The horse remained restless, sensing Lily's unease. She pressed her forehead to Ember's neck, wishing she could unburden herself. The knowledge of Beck's plight weighed like a boulder in her chest, and she dreaded the moment her father would demand real answers. Hours later, Lily's mother dispatched her to deliver fresh eggs to a neighboring farm. As she walked down the country road, her thoughts churned. Maybe she could confide in a trusted adult, Claire, the local veterinarian who sometimes visited the ranch. Claire was kind, used to dealing with skittish animals and discreet when needed. She might know resources for a runaway teen. Yet Lily hesitated, afraid that any grown-up involvement would trigger authorities and unravel everything Beck feared. Glancing at the horizon, Lily decided she needed more time to understand Beck's story before risking a move that could do more harm. By late afternoon, she returned to the ranch, her resolve strengthened. She readied another parcel of food and waited until her father was preoccupied repairing a sagging fence. Then she slipped to the orchard, Ember in tow. Beck emerged at once, hair tousled, eyes rimmed with fatigue. They tore into the food Lily brought, gratitude warring with embarrassment on their face. Lily asked gentle questions, coaxing bits of Beck's story. The aunt's neglect, the nights spent alone, the fear of being sent to foster care again. Each revelation tightened Lily's chest. She couldn't stand by while Beck suffered this limbo. That evening, Lily faced her father with trembling resolve. She found him by the barn, coiling rope, summoning courage. She explained everything, the footprints, the orchard visits, and finally Beck's desperate plight. Her father's face darkened with shock and anger at first, but when Lily described Beck's fear and frailty, a flicker of compassion softened his expression. He glanced toward the distant apple trees, then met Lily's gaze. Without scolding her for secrecy, he placed a firm hand on her shoulder. "Show me," he said quietly. Relief and fear mingled in Lily's chest. She nodded, guiding him toward the orchard. Beck was crouched in the clearing when Lily and her father arrived, panic flaring in their eyes at the sight of an adult. Lily stepped forward, voice steady despite her racing pulse. She introduced her father, who removed his hat and spoke gently, explaining that nobody wanted to send Beck back to harm. Beck stood, trembling, tears streaking a dirt-smudged face. Lily's father asked soft, practical questions. How long had Beck been here? Did they have other family? Were they hurt? Each answer revealed the child's desperation. At last, he sighed, glancing at Lily, then told Beck they wouldn't turn them away. He led Beck and Lily back to the farmhouse, where Lily's mother gasped to see the ragged stranger. At first, anger and worry mingled in her gaze as she demanded an explanation. But once Lily's father spoke of Beck's predicament, her sternness melted into empathy. She ushered Beck inside, giving them a place at the table, offering a hot meal. Lily watched, tears stinging her eyes, as Beck ate in stunned silence. No one chastised Lily for hiding the truth. Instead, they focused on how to keep Beck safe. That night, Lily's mother prepared a makeshift bed in the living room. Lily slipped outside to the barn, finding Ember awake and watchful under a lantern's gentle glow. Stroking the mare's mane, she silently relayed the outcome. Beck was inside, no longer alone. Relief coursed through her like warm light. She sensed Ember's soft approval, as if the horse, too, recognized that a lost soul had found shelter. The orchard would remain, but it no longer concealed Beck's fear. Exhausted yet at peace, Lily pressed her cheek to Ember's neck, tears slipping free. Tomorrow they would confront whatever came next. For now, she and Beck had chosen courage over secrecy, together.